Join me now is one of our national security correspondents, David Pyne of dpyne.substack.com. David, welcome back. Been a while. In fact, someone said to me, we haven't heard from David Pyne in a while. I said, well, he's coming on tonight, and here you are. Welcome back.
Hey, Brownie, great to be with you.
A lot to talk about. Let's go to this first clip. President Trump, I want you to respond to this clip. Here we go.
You know, a big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that that's been like written in stone. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that. But there were a lot of mistakes made in that negotiation. And when I heard the way that Biden was negotiating, I said, you're going to end up in a war. And it turned out to be a very bad war. And it could escalate. That war could escalate to be much worse than it is right now.
They can never join NATO.
Well, my view is that it was always understood. In fact, I believe that they had a deal, and then Biden broke it. They had a deal which would have been a satisfactory deal to Ukraine and everybody else, but that Biden said, no, you have to be able to join NATO.
Now, that's an important clip, because is that fact being talked about now with this restriction, and President Trump's now moving up? I guess he's shortening the window from a 50 days to much closer, or he's going to put, I guess, really tough tariffs or sanctions or whatever on Russia. Is this being taken into consideration still? Hey, we understand Russia doesn't want NATO bringing in Ukraine. They don't want these NATO weapons on their border. Has that been completely forgotten about?
Oh, he has these great instincts. He's a true patriot. He wants to do the right thing, but he continues to be manipulated into doing things, the Biden way, the neoconservative way, and that includes, this massive secondary package against Russia, against Russia's primary trade. Really, 85% of the world's countries that trade with Russia are the ones that would be affected by this initial 100% tariff that he's proposing in about 10 days. And, it's really a road to nowhere. He's just repeating the same old tired mistakes of Joe Biden. We already have 24,000 sanctions against Russia. It's done nothing. Their economy is on fire. It's, yes, there's inflation, but there's also 4% growth, greater growth rate, higher growth rate than any EU nation or the United States by far. Their military is expanding massively. Their military industrial capabilities are expanding massively. They already had, 7+ times more nukes than we do. But he's just really, refused to negotiate with Russia. He's refused to negotiate any peace terms with the Russian Federation. He's refused to meet with Putin, even though he said 2 months ago that the only way this war will end is if he meets directly with Putin. Why is he refusing to meet with Russian President Putin?
Yeah, and why isn't he?
Well, I think the neocons, his deep state advisors, Rubio, Ratcliffe, and others, Kellogg, are telling him that, that would just, for him to meet with Putin during, while Russian troops are in Ukraine would not be becoming a U.S. president, I guess. I mean, that's not the way Reagan would do it. Reagan would certainly meet with Gorbachev to resolve things, and he successfully ended the Cold War. If we had the same mentality, we can't meet with the Russians. The Cold War would never have ended, and the Soviet Union would still exist, and Soviet troops would still be in Germany. So it's just a really crazy mentality. It's it's not peace through strength; it's war through weakness. We continue to disarm the U.S. military in the Trump administration. Trump's going to give another $10 billion worth of aid. Of arms. He's selling it kind of third party. He's selling them to our NATO partners, and then our NATO partners are going to transfer those weapons to Ukraine. But it's really the same old story. He's just repeating the same mistakes that Joe Biden did, and Joe Biden, of course, set the world on fire. So we're getting closer to World War III, as Dr. Peter Price stated a few years ago. This is we're playing with nuclear fire by waging this unnecessary proxy war against Russia and Ukraine in an East End.
And I don't know, I had on Ed Dowd last night, and he thinks we're headed toward World War III if things don't quickly change. Let me share with you what, and he cited, before I could even ask about him, he cited Martin Armstrong, the economist. He cited him. I was going to ask him about it, but he cited him before I even could. And his warning. Listen to this, please. Whoop, why is it not playing? Here we go. Right now. Here we go.
You got war coming. Every European government is planning for war. You had Merz come out and say, there's, diplomacy's off the table. Forget that. I spoke to, in 3 different countries in Europe. I asked, can you please name one European leader that has attempted any diplomatic communications with Putin? No names. Nobody has. The only one that even bothered to call him was Trump. That was it. And Europe was all upset about that.
Thoughts on that, please, Patrick? No, not Patrick. David Pyne. Sorry, David.
Yeah, no problem. I think that, yes, President Trump has done a great job calling Putin. I think it's been 5 times. They've had good conversations, very, very pleasant. But the problem is Putin keeps telling Trump what his conditions for peace are, and Trump's he just ignores him, which is, it's fine. But he I guess now at least he's stated that he's not wanting to negotiate peace with Russia at all. He said he doesn't want to talk to Putin. Negotiations with Russia are off. I mean, it never really got started, unfortunately, because he refused to negotiate any of the terms. We had a 22-point Kellogg peace plan that was presented to the Russians in early May of this year. And once Russia rejected it, Trump just, decided to give up on the process without even trying. There was just simply no negotiations, just an ultimatum. And the sad part is, it's Zelensky that's the real problem here. And Zelensky, or rather Trump, has been enabling Zelensky by continuing to fund this war through arms sales and give essentially a blank check of U.S. support to Ukraine, including long-range missiles, potentially including JASSMs and Tomahawk missiles that have a range of 1,500 miles, 1,550 miles, actually. And I mean, needless to say, if the Ukrainians start targeting, Moscow with Tomahawks, it's a very likely chance we could see a nuclear war with Russia.
Well, that's exactly what, again, Martin put out the other day. Here is what Martin Armstrong has said. I'm disappointed with Trump. It seems the neocons have convinced him of war. This confirms what Socrates has been forecasting, inevitable war starting 2026. I think that's his computer system, Socrates. What do you make of this, David?
Well, nothing's inevitable. I mean, Trump could return to the America First conservative fold tomorrow. He could fire all his neocon advisors, and he could do exactly what he said. He could end the war in Ukraine in a week and force Israel out of Gaza to accept a deal which precludes Hamas from ever returning to power. I mean, he was able to negotiate peace in Gaza the day before he was inaugurated. He threw that out the window a couple months later when Israel said they wanted to bomb and reinvade Gaza. But as far as the war in Ukraine, I mean, I provided several peace proposals, including one the day after he was inaugurated, in which I outlined clearly the steps that he could take to end the war in less than a week, just a matter of days, not months. And he's just following the wrong advice of his neocon deep state advisors, and kind of ignoring Vice President Vance and DNI, Tulsi Gabbard and others, and even Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff said, let's take the Istanbul Agreement. It was Ukraine's terms that Russia agreed to in the Istanbul Agreement. We'll take that as make that the current peace agreement, and we'll add kind of a ceasefire along the line of control. And Russia doesn't like that, but neither does Ukraine. But it would be a great compromise. And at least the Financial Times reported that Russia might be willing to consider that. And I really think that they would. So, that's a pretty simple path to peace. And, I think President Trump is just behaving like Biden. He just kind of behaves like the U.S. is the, sole superpower of the world. In fact, the DOD spokesman, actually Department of State spokesman, Tammy Bruce just said today that basically, we're the power, and we get to dictate terms, and other countries have to follow it. And
Wow.
when you're dealing with other nuclear superpowers, that's not a recipe for success. There's no amount of threats. There's no amount of arms we can give Ukraine, threats against Russia that will cause Putin to back down from his minimal terms.
Well, that's what I got in my worldview report tonight, a closing commentary. You're dealing with Russia. You're dealing with Putin, a superpower. Hypersonic missiles that have pinpoint accuracy, that can have multiple warheads and can go stealth, can reach Europe in minutes. I don't understand why we're bossing Putin around.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make a good PR move, particularly for the midterms coming up, don't you think a joint meeting of Putin and Trump would be, President Trump likes television and to orchestrate things for television. Wouldn't, at the height of this tension right now, be the perfect time to see them meeting in, I don't know, where they want to meet, Switzerland, wherever they normally hold these things, some neutral place? Why would President Trump not call for that? So we can at least see him shaking Putin's hand, having some conversations before they go back to a room, and then come back out and say, we've made progress, we've not made progress, but we're going to keep talking. But at this point, why would you not be trying to put the world at ease and try to work this out with face-to-face meetings? Things always go better face-to-face when tensions are this high, don't you think?
Absolutely right. President Nixon, I think, said it best, that we needed to maintain good relations with both Russia and China. It's our adversaries that we need good relations with the most, because that's where we get security. If we're constantly confronting our nuclear adversaries and trying to push them to a Cuban Missile Crisis, then the chances of the incineration of the United States become quite higher. And Russia has the ability to super EMP the U.S. and NATO with a couple warheads in a matter of minutes. So we could see all of Western civilization destroyed in 1 billion dead within a year, potentially, if this goes south. So the stakes couldn't be any higher. And the irony is, Putin's always wanted to be our friend. He's wanted to be our strategic partner from the beginning. He came to power as a pro-Western leader, along the lines of Yeltsin. Yes, he was a former KGB, FSB director, KGB lieutenant colonel, but he was quite sincere in wanting to integrate Russia with, in terms of the economic and security infrastructure of the West. And all of his pleas to do so were essentially rejected. His repeated statements from 2007 on to try to resolve the NATO and Ukraine crisis diplomatically were all rejected as well. And President Trump, I think there were some good points in the Kellogg peace plan, but obviously it only went up halfway to what the Russians were demanding. And if Trump wanted to meet with Putin and said, we accept your terms, except for you don't get a single inch of additional Ukrainian territory, and maybe even withdraw from, regions that are outside of Russia's demands. I think Putin could live with that, and it would be a great triumph. And he could say, I forced Putin to back down on his demands for more territory.
Look at this headline. Plan on it. Martin Armstrong sees a 100% chance of nuclear war. Now, he's saying 2026. What are you doing? And what do you recommend people do? How should people be preparing right now?
Well, we talked about this. The number one thing to do is spiritual preparation to, turn back to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and get our lives in order, get our families to help repent as well. I need to repent. Everyone needs to repent. And that's probably the most important thing, the best life insurance for our safety and security, but also physical preparations, food storage, your business, a company as well, sells, food storage, medical supplies, ammo. Obviously we need that, but everything that we could be without in a grid down civilization ending scenario is what we need to prepare for. And I just don't think a lot of people see it. When Trump was elected president, I thought, wow, this is our second chance. God's given us a second chance to avoid World War III, and unfortunately that hasn't panned out. It looked pretty good the first 3 months or so of the administration. I can't underscore enough the need to have solar power and food storage and water supplies and all the things that we need to sustain life through a civilization-ending scenario.
Yeah. Okay. When I come back, I want to talk about this headline real quick. EU and U.S. agree trade deal with 15% tariffs for European exports to America. Some, I want your analysis, David. Some are saying that America's getting everything. This is a one-sided deal. That's what some are saying. My question is why? And does it have something to do with what we're now doing with NATO? You do this with NATO, President Trump, and we'll agree to this with tariffs. I want to ask that, is this a piece of the deal? And most Americans are not understanding that there's multiple parts of this deal. And maybe it's not such a good deal after all for us. We'll be right back.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace Elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
All right, welcome back. David, I know you've got to go. You got another appointment, but I want you to respond to this. Some are saying this trade deal gives America everything, Europe not very much. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe this is a piece of the puzzle, the deal making. We're going to give America a bunch of weaponry to NATO. NATO can then turn around and hand it off to Zelensky. Trump is going to agree to throw in with them. We're headed toward war. But part of the deal is you got to pay us. And this is part of the payment. I'm just guessing. I mean, I'm looking at this and figuring this has got to be what this is partly about. Because from what I'm reading, this is like a deal that's really, really good for us, but not so much for Europe. Are you picking up on that same thing?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. 15% tariffs on all EU goods, 0% tariffs on US goods on their end. So it does seem kind of like a quid pro quo where, we agree to sell them the weapons they want to send to Ukraine to keep fighting Russia and for, I guess, indefinitely. And we get we get this deal. I mean, I don't think it's It is a good deal. You know, it's absolutely a good deal for us, a bad deal for them. But I don't think we really get a huge amount out of it.
Well, particularly if it sets us on a course to World War III. If it sets us on a course to World War III, it's definitely not a good deal.
Yeah, we get nothing in the end. You know, our civilization, our country is destroyed if that's the way it pans out.
Or at least greatly damaged, even if it was a cyber attack that took us down for a few weeks. You know, I mean, who knows what, right? I mean, I agree. Man, wow. dpyne.substack.com, dpyne.substack.com. David, as always, thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Brad. It's always a pleasure.
You too, my friend. David Pyne checking in. And folks, I need you to go over to worldviewstore.com for two reasons. First of all, you can get all kinds of survival gear there that David was actually just talking about. Tons of stuff there. The food, the gear, medical kits, all kinds of stuff. But you can also find out and get tickets for our upcoming fall conference, our Worldview Weekend, our 22nd annual. This is our 22nd annual National Worldview Weekend. We've been holding Worldview Weekend since February of '93. This is our 22nd annual national conference in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee. Logan, can you show them some of that beautiful footage of Collierville? You have some of that? We were rated like the town square, #1 town square in America a couple years ago. It's a beautiful town outside of Memphis, 30 minutes outside of Memphis. You can drive in, the hotels, everything is right there. Gordon Chang will be speaking. I'll be speaking. Dr. Andy Woods, Hedia, Chris Martinson, Mark Mitchell, Alex Newman, Dr. Lana, Sidney Powell. There's only 350 seats. The theater belongs to our town. We're renting it from the town of Collierville. It's a beautiful theater, but only 350 seats. So this is going to give you guys a great opportunity to walk right up and speak to the speakers. And of course, now we have our concert banquet or our music banquet and keynote speech by Hedia on that Thursday night. We'll be bringing my grand piano, my piano player. I think we're adding in a few strings this year, some violins maybe, and we'll see cello. We'll see what else. A little bit of music, and then a keynote presentation by Hedia. Now that's Thursday night. That's an optional event Thursday night. There's no profit margin mixed in there. That's just the cost of the event because it's a beautiful ballroom, but the food is amazing. One of our favorite restaurants, folks, here in the Mid-South. So I hope you can join us for Thursday night. But if not, you can join us for Friday night and Saturday. All the details, hotels to stay at here in our very safe middle upper class community of Collierville, Tennessee. Full details, worldviewstore.com. Look at that beautiful band shell. That's on our town square, which there was a major battle, Civil War battle fought on the square. The Battle of Collierville during the Civil War. You should visit it while you're here. Looks like Mayberry. See? Beautiful. Great community. Worldviewstore.com for full details. All right, before we go, I dealt with this earlier on television, but I want to remind everybody, if you didn't see that, there are a lot of lies going on around out there about Israel starving children. I'm not seeing any proof of it. What I am seeing is manufactured pictures from wars gone by, or little kids that look like they're in bad shape. One of them particularly looks malnourished. He has a serious health condition. And by the way, someone made a good point yesterday. They show these kids being held by their parents. And the kids look like they're starving, but the parents look like they're fat. Something doesn't add up. Why is nobody talking about the starving hostages? The hostages Hamas has that are being tortured, many of them raped, and are starving to death, according to numerous reports and the witnesses and those who've come out of what was happening to them. We all want to talk about Gaza, Gaza, Gaza. Why not who's perpetrated this problem? Hamas. Here is Hamas going after a convoy. There's a lot of videos like this online. Look at this. Okay, where's the media? Where's the media on the food being stolen. Yep. There's a lot of this out there if people want to find it. Right? Palestinian kids throwing rocks on humanitarian aid trucks hijacked by armed Hamas terrorists. There is hunger in Gaza because Hamas is stealing humanitarian aid, hoarding it and selling it above market prices to finance their terror machine. They also create the hunger because it benefits their propaganda strategies. So be careful, folks. Dangerous world out there. Lots of media not wanting to show you what we will. That's why we're rising in popularity. You know that? Here is a massive explosion. This is a fuel pellet facility destroyed. I think this was in Nebraska. Take a look at this footage. This is pretty incredible. I don't know what that is. I don't know why, but I'd like to find out. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but I am going to say, do you guys not find it interesting over the last 4 or 5 years how much of our critical infrastructure keeps getting damaged or blown up? Is this gray terror? Question mark. Not making statements. Is this, as we head toward what Martin Armstrong says looks like 100% world war, is this gray terror? This is what you do, what countries do. They send in people to disrupt critical infrastructure. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Maybe it was just dust that built up that ignited. I have no idea. But I just find it interesting. This kind of stuff seems to be so prolific the last few years. Here we're being told this is a state senator out of Michigan. Listen to what this state senator has to say. Here we go.
The way it is written is applying to all levels of law enforcement. They're operating in the state of Michigan, the sovereign state of Michigan. And the bottom line is that the people of Michigan, we do not want or need secret police, masked, unidentified people snatching our neighbors off the street, period. What
are the enforcement mechanisms in this bill? Like if federal law enforcement comes into Michigan and breaks Michigan law, who would prosecute that? What would the penalties be?
So the laws that are broken in Michigan, we would enforce with our law enforcement just like any other.
So what are they wanting? Apparently they don't want any of the ICE people wearing masks when they come in there. They don't want them wearing masks. I don't know why they wear a mask. I guess they're afraid of reprisals. But I do find it interesting whether it's the people in Michigan, the libs in Michigan, that basically destroyed that state, or Letitia James in New York. They all want these illegal immigrants just to be able to get away with it and then get paid, to stay on the SNAP program and get paid. Your tax dollars going to the government to give to people that broke the law and are here so you can feed them. And you're struggling to feed your family, some of you. These lawmakers, it's really a shame. But liberalism, as one guy said, is a mental disorder. All right. Don't forget about our national conference coming up, October 3rd and 4th. October 3rd and 4th. That's a Friday night and a Saturday. 350 seats available in this beautiful auditorium here in the Mid-South, Collierville, Tennessee. Love to have you be a part of it. Okay? Full details, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. The optional music and keynote address banquet. I'll do a little music with my piano player and our grand piano, and then a keynote address by Hedia. Beautiful restaurant ballroom. The food's amazing. One of our favorite restaurants here in the Mid-South. That's Thursday night. That's optional. All the details at worldviewstore.com. What a lineup. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. Hey, don't forget, we need your support. Worldviewfoundation.com is one of the most powerful ways you can support us to keep pushing out free programming. And we don't just have this show. We have worldviewtube.com/prophecy. That's our prophecy channel. Worldviewtube.com/Bible. That's 24/7 Bible teaching. Worldviewtube.com/history. And worldviewtube.com/health. All three brought to you in part by our foundation. You help make it possible. May God save America. Take care.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.